Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for being for part A of your performance event tonight. So we're going to have a few spoken word artists, and we will also have Koomah be able to entice and tantalize you with their performance, and shock, awe, and all of this. So at first, I'm going to introduce Muizz Akhtar. Right? Did I get
Akhtar.
Akhtar, sorry.
You're good.
I tried. I will do this again. Muizz Akhtar. This is one of the first public performances, third, correct?
Third, yeah.
Third. So, he's going to need to feel the love and support as he is going to be doing today. He's a writer and editor who has traversed they are a writer and editor who has traversed the realms of academia and strategic communications, nonprofit community organizations, and electoral campaigns. Born, raised, and based in Houston, Texas, Muizz is a civically engaged and inspiring polyglot and punster extraordinaire. So, ready?
As ready as I'll ever be. Thank you all for being here. So, just a quick content warning. I'm going to kind of be talking about natural disasters. I know for a lot of us Houstonians that kind of hits close to home, but bear with me. So, am I speaking close enough into the mic?
You're good.
Okay. Okay, so my piece is called Come Hell or High Water. Picture this. You're on a boat, sailing through the river of life, when suddenly, because of a surprise storm, lightning zaps your ship ablaze. You call the emergency hotline for help. Ring, ring, ring. Sorry, we're busy. Please try again, never. Ring, ring, ring. You have called this number in error and should try the following number instead. 1-800-GIVE-UP. Ring, ring, ring. The number you have called is never in service. Guess you're on your own. Or in other words, welcome to trying to get any assistance from the unholy state of Texas.
Yep.
This past year has been a wild one for many of us. Like many Texans, my ship had capsized and I was unemployed. So I thought I'd try applying for unemployment benefits. You know, that thing where the government ideally fixes or gets you in your boat. But, or at the very least, throws you a life jacket to keep you afloat. Contrary to popular propaganda, it's not a handout. Remember that the government is literally funded through your taxes to build roads, utilities, and a myriad of other services. The life jacket was made with your name on it. And by golly, you deserve it. Alas, we live in Texas. Sigh. Where, forget extending a hand, Texas instead lifts its boot up high as you reach toward land and kicks your face deeper into the water. Texas Alamo enthusiast Davy Crockett famously, supposedly, once said to his enemies, "You may all go to hell, and I will go to Texas." But joke's on him, hell and Texas are one and the same. How else can one describe the current state of affairs, where our ruling party refuses to solve a single actual problem we have, from the pandemic-induced recession to the aftermath of the Texas freeze? It's enough to put someone into depression. Hell, they won't even expand Medicaid for those in need.
Yep.
Instead, with a sinister glee, they go after their political enemies and enrich corporations, such as the way of the devils at the Texas GOP. From trans kids to teachers to, quite frankly, anyone with a uterus. Republicans have perfected the art of zealous, plutocratic terror. And just this past week, Archdemon Abbott ended federal unemployment benefits for those who are still jobless, while his party is currently working to extend billions of dollars of welfare for their corporate overlords. So you see, despite what the fiends would have you believe, the government can and does have the ability to do quite a lot. They simply choose to leave us to fend for ourselves while robbing us. And if you possibly thought that you want to vote them out, Texas is already the hardest state to vote in, and there's a good chance that the demons at the top are about to make it a whole lot harder. One thing we see time and time again when many of our votes sink is that we Texans come together in dramatic, heroic ways. Mutual aid is the norm when you live in a failed state. And with hurricane season just around the corner, there's little doubt that the ghouls running our state will do little but leave us to our fates.
Yeah.
I'm going to get on a positive note. But as we wade through the floods to come, let us remember our fates are inextricably bound up in one another. And furthermore, when Texas refuses to pull us up, it's up to us to pull it down into the water and make it into the Lone Star-sized lifeboat that it was meant to be. Thank you.
The performance of demasking. Thank you very much. One more time for Muizz. So, I have a pleasure of introducing Royal Sumikat. She is a dynamic human, a futuristic artist born in the Philippines and currently residing here in Houston. She's a multi-city muralist and a painter whose work is informed by her experiences as an immigrant, community organizer, and priestess. Storytelling and mythology is prevalent in her work, and she aims to strengthen the connection that she has with her ancestors. I am thrilled that she is here because she teaches every moment that she has. Roy.
You got this!
Okay. Who cares? The CARES Act. Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act. More like Can Access Relief in an Exploitative State. CARES. C stands for capitalism. Can't find jobs that pay living wages. Cop budget bloated from all of this caring. Class warfare, class struggle. Classes on Zoom while kids doom scroll on mute. C is for contradictions, like the name of this act, but it's everything it lacks. Conflict, the fact that bosses capitalize on the surplus value of their workers who feel. A is for abandoned. What are alternatives when shelters are closed? Antagonized by bosses and landlords, always at your throats. Anticipate unemployment, forego our enjoyment, fill out job applications in despair. Affordable health care? I don't know her. Nah, but this act provides families with affordable funerals. That's just delusional. Do not resuscitate. R is for rockets flying overhead. As people struggle in the red. We're rubbing pennies for relief, but repression is a bipartisan resolution. No rent freeze during the Texas freeze. Co-opt the revolution, bust an Amazon rebellion, then receive the repercussions. Is it capitalism or is it depression? But hey, vote in the coming election, they said. Help the economy, they said. E stands for exploited. Escape? Even the ether wouldn't grant me emancipation from exploitation. E is for renters, evicted and extorted. Landlords exonerated. So many excluded from this so-called relief, we haven't even unpacked that coronavirus brief. And they say my anger is excessive. Can I be straightforward? S stands for state, the bureaucracy that stands in the way of our sovereignty. Do we settle for mere survival? Wait for the GoFundMe to go viral? S is for sweeps, as in the city stealing from houseless people susceptible to illness and violence. S stands for stimulus. as in that check that 30 million people haven't received yet. S is for statistic, the faceless numbers we are to the system. So, who cares? If caring is an act, what tangible ways does this make it a fact? When can we catch a break? In what ways do we feel safe? Or maybe it's time to care about one another. C is for community, because all we got is each other. A is for autonomy, so we can self-govern with our neighbor. R is for revolution, that's self-explanatory. E is for education, as in political, and it's mandatory. S is for solidarity, where we unite in our common interests. We all deserve food, water, housing, as explained in the sentence. Thank you.
We are intersex, subject to forced genital mutilation surgery. You speak of us, seeking support for yourself. There are no laws to protect us. Will you speak of us for us?
silence of crickets is deafening. So, our next artist, actually just in general, let's be clear, artists and activists, sometimes there's a price. There's a cost to speaking out. There's a cost, and not only in social standing, not only in perceived ideas, but actually on our bodies, on our lives. So the next artist has something essential that I think that you all need to hear and we need to hear today. However, costs are real. And I'm asking you all if you will protect Jennifer and her family by not video recording any images of her, not taking any photos, but being present and standing witness to her story. As you can see, the videotape will be focusing on the silence and the crickets, and hopefully we will not be silent as she steps up to the mic.
I am the mother of a beautiful trans daughter. Only she hides it outside of our home. Because there are hate-filled faces and evil places where she is not safe. The tiny flame of immense honesty burning inside her fragility is not easily extinguished, but it is limited by fuel. So we sit, she and I love her and I teach her, but we don't take her outside. She played sports when she was younger quite badly. We had her in a church league before we left the church that did not want her, that denied her love and grace unless she was cisgender. We left. But before then, before she knew and owned herself, she played basketball. And she loved her team, loved her coaches, loved practice, loved her uniform. She was resilient in loss and understanding in victory. And we were so proud, not of her wins and losses, but of her character. The league gave out these little white ribbons every game to the most Christ-like child, the most unselfish, sacrificial player on the court. She had so many of those little white ribbons. She had so many little tokens of irony. S-Bill 29 bans trans youth from competing on sports teams that match their gender identity. So where does she go? What box do you prefer for her? Is she denied those white ribbons if she wears bows in her hair? Okay, is she denied the character sports can instill if her gender reveal party was a little bit premature? Because the goal is not to deny her sports, it's to deny her affirmation. Okay? It is to somehow make her cisgender by making her anathema. But my daughter is a beautiful, fierce girl, and she deserved to play sports as she is. By the way, how are we supposed to know? Genital inspection of children? Isn't that why they want trans women out of women's bathrooms? What about intersex children, gender fluid children? Who inspects their qualifications? Who chooses the box if it's not the child? Okay? Senate Bill SB 1311 prohibits doctors from providing gender-affirming or transitional medical care to minors. It has been given initial passage in the Texas Senate, and it moves onward. Gender-affirming care for a prepubescent child is that that child lives as their identified gender. That's it. When a child reaches the age of puberty, puberty blockers are standard care, exactly as they are for cisgender children who experience what's called precocious puberty. puberty out of order, too early. So it is stopped. These are not new therapies. This is not experimentation. Transitional surgery is not performed in children under 18. It is not done. It is simply not done. This is a false flag. But the narrative is that children are being mutilated. And they're so wrapped up in what they personally find repulsive that they push it onto the backs of our babies and call it fair. Because to them, being a trans child is not to have a mental and spiritual reality. It is to have a delusion that is not to be validated but illuminated and then be extinguished. It is so cold by design. It's dry and empty. The pain is lost in translation. These children are warm, mind, face alive. These children are not held safe by legislators. These children are trapped by them. I am the mother of a beautiful trans daughter, and this next one is for me. SB 1646 defines a parent's support for his or her trans child with gender affirmation of any kind as child abuse. The bill allows Child Protective Services to remove trans children from their parents' custody. I can get 2 to 10 years on a felony charge if I support my child. Stop here for a moment and breathe. I have to. I am completely supportive of my daughter exactly as she is. I do not simply accept her, I revel in her. I will find her care and I will fight for it. I will fight anyone who lessens her. She could be taken away from me for that support. Taken away from the safety and love that her brother, father, and I pour into her. Removed from the room we keep private for her and the cat she adores. From the friends that are her lifeline, from every bit of her shelter, she could be taken away and told it's all ashes and it's time to man up. And she can only return to her home if she agrees to be a boy now. And if we all agree to agree, she is gone. This is madness. These are our children. They are being chipped away at a basketball game here, a pill there, a parent there, until eventually the mirror shatters and the reflections are a spider web of broken glass. And all they can do is wait for more spiders to come, and they will come. These laws hammer down on our children, and they know. They know about all of this. They live with it all. They are hated for it all, and sometimes they're permanently lost because of it all. These storms of ignorance and adults with long knives and axes to grind and plays for power. I am the mother of a beautiful daughter. She is under my protection. I will not be silent. And I cannot be broken. Thank you.
Can I have the artists to come up just for another round of applause from everybody? Thank you for sharing. Truth? Call for action? Thanks for realizing and helping us realize that there is so much more for us to learn and so much more for us to continue to challenge. As Royal said, we are a community. We are a community who witnessed today. There will be more for you to witness next door. But I invite you to remember these moments, to remember these stories, and make sure that it is not just crickets that respond.
I'd like to welcome you all to Dudley Hall. I am Christy Poisot. The community calls me Ate Christy. Ate stands for like big sister in the Filipino community. Just a little housekeeping. Thank you for keeping your masks on. If you need to go to the bathroom, you know where it is, down the hall over there, a very colorful hallway. Please go ahead and take care of yourself. If there's an emergency, of course, you know where you came in, that's where you'll be going out, unless you're over there in the courtyard. And let's see, what else have I got? I think that's it as far as the housekeeping goes. But introducing myself also, I want to say that I am a cougar. So it's So it's been a while since I graduated. We were just joking earlier. We think that chair out in the lobby has been here since we were here 20 some odd years ago, but now it's vintage, so okay. But you are in the room that carries the theme around immigration and motherhood. So I want to thank you for joining us in this space. When I first came and was worried that this event wasn't even going to happen today, driving in the rain, I was thinking through like a quick little poem, and so I'm going to say that and then we'll kick off. So the first thing that kind of came to mind when I was driving sounds like this. The sky cries as we profess the wise, my voice will be a shaken. We hope you enjoy tonight's show, leaving more awakened. And it was getting real deep because I probably thought I was going to lose my life on those roads today because it was really kind of pouring indeed. But our first show is 6 Degrees Dance Company, and this is titled Arcelia's Story, and it's starring Arcelia Jaramillo and Toni Valle. So ladies and gentlemen, please, let's give a round of applause.
Nearly 180,000 illegal immigrants with criminal records, ordered deported from our country, are tonight roaming free to threaten peaceful citizens.
I oppose amnesty. I oppose citizenship. I oppose legalization for illegal immigrants. I always have, and I always will.
As a fiscal conservative, is it okay with $25 billion for the wall?
Whatever it takes. The justices blocked the Trump administration's efforts to shut down the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, otherwise known as DACA. It allows people brought to the U.S. illegally as children to stay, work, and study in this country.
They're taking our jobs, they're taking our manufacturing, they're taking our money, they're taking everything, and they're killing us on the border.
President Joe Biden made it a priority and presented an immigration reform bill to Congress that would pave the path to citizenship for about 11 million people without legal status. A moment that could give Alejandro's mother a pathway to citizenship after living in the shadows for more than 2 decades.
And I told her, I want to walk with you and talk with you what this means for us as immigrants, what it means to us as a family.
Some Democrats even proposed a measure that would force the release of thousands of criminal illegal aliens, including dangerous felons convicted of rape, sex trafficking, violent assault, and even murder into our country. Can you believe this?
And it is the direct consequence of policy decisions by the Biden administration to stop building the wall, to return to catch and release, and to end the stay in Mexico.
They are being released by the tens of thousands into our communities with no regard for the impact on public safety or resources.
The most important part of the debate, and the part most often overlooked, is the fact that immigrants, undocumented or otherwise, are people too. People with dreams, aspirations, hopes, and loved ones. People like me. People who have become a part of the American society and way of life, and who yearn to help make America great again, without the construction of a wall built on hatred and prejudice.
this means for us as a community, what it means to us as a family.
Here I am trying to make something out of myself, and every direction that I turn to, it's like they're trying to hold me back. You know, I do what I'm supposed to do. I stay quiet at the moments when I feel that I shouldn't even speak up. I mean, whether it's with cops or authority or teachers, you know, this is the effect that it created on me. I became a very close-off person.
Based on what I'm classified as Mexican, female, undocumented, first generation, low income, then so can you.
The issue is one we should all be paying attention to. 1 in 6 dreamers lives right here in Texas.
My name is Aisha. My mother crossed the Texas border with me in her arms when I was 1 year old, looking for a better life for her family. I am a dreamer, and Texas is my home. On May 14th, a week ago, I graduated with honors with a BA in dance and minor in education, along with a Texas teaching certification from the University of Houston. I am an immigrant, a recipient of the Dream.US scholarship, a first-generation college graduate, and I am here to say that immigrants are humans.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah! Woo!
So, how many of you caught that? Arcelia was one of the dancers, and it's called Arcelia's Story. So, took me a minute when I first met them, but it was, and of course the metaphors, and now that I watched it the second time around, in the movement of struggling to climb up the material and the stage, and then also then her finally able to go up and then dance and twirling down. I don't know. Woo! Beautiful. So, beautiful transition to our next piece. And our next artist is Cybil Saenz. And I have known Cybil for a few years. I first met her as the co-author with Jenah on the Filipinx of Houston at an event at Asia Society. And she sought me out and said, "I'm not in your book." And ever since then, I have done my best to make sure she was recognized, but also she has taught me so much about film and, you know, inspiring me still to write my own story using that media to educate others on some of the great things and the visibility in our community. So, it is The Filipinos in Houston is the name of the book, and oftentimes what I think about our artists is that they are your storytellers. They are your documenters of history, and if they are not funded or supported in some way, and a lot of times, a lot of history is lost. So I think it's very important, and it could be all about their emotions or what's happening at their time or a bill that's being passed for. With that being said, continuing on the theme of immigration, I'd like to introduce you to Cybil Science.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for bearing witness to my story. And I didn't mention this earlier to Auntie Christy, but she is a very big inspiration to me. I've come back to the Filipino community because of her and her work. So I am very thankful that she gave me the courage to share my stories, including this poem that I'm going to read for you. It's about my mom, and I did mention earlier too that this was an inspiration of kind of explaining to my kids about something that happened last year. So I just want to give you trigger warnings. There is mention of abuse and suicide, and I will not be offended if you need to get up and leave. Okay? Yes, good lighting is important.
Yeah.
Make sure this is happening. Thumbs up. You got my good side? The poem is called Dear Ina. I've been working on this letter in my mind for decades, but only started writing this down moments ago. So many times have I bit my tongue to avoid the hard talks, the ones that would change the dynamic of our relationship forever, the ones that would release all of our pent-up emotions, rage, regret, remorse, the ones that would reveal to you my admiration, appreciation, respect. The words I wanted to say would disappear before I had a chance to say them. Until now, because I see you. You came to this country with Daddy and Ate to escape the oppression of Filipino martial law. You started a new life in a foreign country thousands of miles away from all that you've known. That must have been so scary, but not as scary as living under the thumb of a tyrannical government and an unjust dictator, or the uncertainty of a future in a corrupt country. You took that leap of faith at the tender age of 28 with a baby in arm to find a better life in the land of the free. But little did you know that the long journey was really meant for you to meet me. I was born a year after you arrived in this distant place, conceived after a night of gallivanting around Chicago's sparkling lights. But that wasn't part of the plan. I was a fussy baby, always sick, always crying, always needing attention. My nickname was CB, or is CB, which I thought was just a shorter, cuter version of my name. But years later, you told me it stood for crybaby. I was allergic to almost everything and was close to dying when you fed me peanuts before my second birthday. You would repeatedly tell me, you are an accident. We found you in the garbage can. Why can't you be more like your ate? It was only supposed to be your sister. this narrative repeated in my head all throughout my life. It made me feel more like a burden instead of a love child. I would always feel like I wasn't good enough and would punish myself by cutting, being with abusive men, attempting suicide. Now, 30 years later, from that night you discovered me after a 12-hour shift at the hospital, bleeding from my wrist, lying on my bed, unconscious from an overdose of unknown pills I grabbed from the medicine cabinet. I finally see you. I see you in myself when I'm with my own children, my own family. I see you come out of me when I'm frustrated, angry, upset, enraged. I see you when I respond to you in the same way you respond to me. And that's when you see yourself reflected back at you. We are one person, you and I, and we both want to change. But the only way for us to do that is to break this mirror of systemic generational trauma. I see you, and I want you to release us from these chains. Be out the reflection of yourself that you see in me. I allow you to do that. I need you to do that. I want to shatter this cycle of pain. I'm sorry it's taken a pandemic and a rush of COVID-19 to have the courage to dig up the overdue conversation. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to figure out what I wanted to say to you, what I needed from you. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to finally see you. To see you as a woman, a person, a human, not just my mother. Thank you.
So I've heard that several times, your poem, Cybil, and here's what I have to say. You just cried, baby. You just showed it and you cried. You cried, okay? And there's no shame in that. And I say that from a place of inspiration, because being able to bare your soul to perfect strangers in an audience is no small thing as an artist. In a lot of ways, we bare our souls to you more than we would to our own family members. We're calling it art today, right? But there's a lot of truth in it, and I certainly identify not necessarily with just the immigration parts of it, but in a relationship between a mother and a daughter. So thank you very much. So speaking of bearing our souls, Jenah Maravilla, when I was asked, who should be part of the show to talk a little bit about some of these activist topics, do you know any poets was the question. And when they portrayed to me the idea of the show, I was like, you don't need poets. You kind of need some activists. You need people who have vindication about things that they believe in, or can, and the ability to articulate those thoughts will come because of the passion. And Jenah was one of the first people I could think of who not only does that as far as being able to articulate her passion, but she is also both an artist and she is also an activist. So I want to go ahead and welcome Jenah Maravilla to the stage. And I've known her for so long, I think she'll probably have you all in good hands. I'm bringing us over to the Heartbeat Bill. Thank you.
So I'm going to do this a little differently than I did the first time around. There's going to be a more audience component. So when I have a signal, such as this, please, in your most southern accent, say, love thy neighbor. All right. Hi, I'm Jenah de las Alas Maravilla, as introduced by my older sister, Ate Christy. Thank you for thinking of me to be included in this amazing showcase. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I stand on the shoulders of activists and ancestors that came before me. This poem, Love Thy Neighbor, starts off with quotes from Senate Bill 8, aka the Heartbeat Bill, and Psalms 139, 13 through 16, because I hate when the beauty of religion is used to justify the acts of men. Be it enacted by the legislature of the state of Texas, Section 1, this act shall be known as the Texas Heartbeat Act. For you created my innermost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. Legislative findings. The legislature finds, according to contemporary medical research, that 1, fetal heartbeat has become a key medical predictor that an unborn child will reach live birth. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well. 2, cardiac activity begins at a biologically identifiable moment in time, normally when the fetal heart is formed in the gestational sac. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. 3, Texas has compelling interests from the outset of a woman's pregnancy in protecting the health of the woman and the life of an unborn child, and your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. 4, to make an informed choice about whether to continue her pregnancy, the pregnant woman has a compelling interest in knowing the likelihood of her unborn child surviving full term based on the presence of cardiac activity. As my dad would say, bullshit. Our Creator endowed us with the right to life, and yet millions of children lose their right to life every year because of abortion, Abbott said. Our Creator must be different. And these hands that hold others will not be thumping the Bible, but you will be catching them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the second commandment to love thy neighbor?
Love thy neighbor.
That fake ass sweetened iced tea Southern talk makes me sick.
Love thy neighbor.
Love thy neighbor unless they're in the wrong zip code and freeze to death and drown in hurricanes and can only vote after the graveyard shift.
Love thy neighbor.
Unless they're homeless or queer or migrants or Palestinian or black or Asian, and apparently if they're mothers without a choice.
Love thy neighbor.
When I know for a goddamn fact that the war on mothers have been going on for lifetimes. Stop picking each leaf off the tree until my God can provide shade to the brown bodies that sit underneath her. At least we got melanin. Stop stripping Mother Nature for your man-made money and motherland of its mother tongue and raping, pillaging, killing her children for you to turn around and tell me,
love thy neighbor.
Thank you, Jenah. I don't know how many of you have actually read the Heartbeat Bill, but I'd have to say that was much more entertaining. I'm not going to try to go through line by line of Texas legislature. But that being said, though, food for thought that will hopefully, coming into my poem now, your concluding artist for the evening, called Hold Hand Over Heart. Here we go. Dun dun, dun dun, dun dun, dun dun. You see before you a woman, a brown one, an other, or origin indigenous, single, maybe mother. Dun dun, dun dun, dun dun, dun dun. Today, she is your history teacher, your storyteller. You require a tale old as existence, now gather around the fire. Expulsion of the fetus before viable. 1540s word appears, Latin abortionum, abortion, that word, my ears. 1973 starts in Texas, Roe v. Wade. Before that, personal strife. What's the name of that show? I know it. Call a midwife. Women's bodies, the scope of legislation, pro-choice, pro-life. How long is the gestation? 2021, May 13, Senate Bill 8, Texas passed. Be still my heart, bless my heart. I just found out I was pregnant. Let me see, where do I start? A scene out of The Godfather. I go after your daddy, your mommy, your greasy granny, your doctor you won't forget. Anyone supporting you, who again? Aid and abet? Rape me? Assault me? Sue me. Flatline your constitutional right. He can come after me too. A life, you will lose this fight. Save one life, but many lives are destroyed. Criminals rewarded. Congress annoyed? Ecosystems of support obliterated, unjust, frivolous lawsuits are filed. Nobody wins, no one trusts. Men making laws for women, voices unheard, quieted, come from a place of caring, not solved when rioted. Not a moment to lose, history drifts back to Texas state, coming from a place of hate. The laws that jurisdict the procreate. This is my body we are talking about. This is your body we are talking about. Your community we are talking about. We are all pro-life, we theory. But which phase to destroy certainly makes me leery. The unborn or the living, neither are forgiving. How do we save a heartbeat of a nation if the solution has no soul? The body commodity, man-made law, woman paid toll. Doctors, do not weaponize judiciary system to make political point. How to process? Hold my joint. Christians hear a heartbeat, life. Jews prioritize women. For them, start is breath, life. So when is life given? All day we will debate. Laws made in this mental state. The nation soon to decide, federal court, which to abide. I grew up a Catholic. Prayer cards scattered, preached glory. There, a towering woman stands there with her own story. On the altar, to her we pray. The rosary every day. Church 3 times a week. A heart radiates, statue with eyes that seem to match you. I am pro-life for women. This poem conflicts me torn. Like this law divides me, religions I grew up to sworn. From ancestors colonized and then spoken word comes clear. Catholic by the Spanish flows like a narrative spear. Hundreds of years unraveled, imagine this story now here, in ancient civilization flowing like an endless tear. The women ruled the lands then. Can you imagine, eyes closed? What was the family law when conflicts like this arose? Vasectomy, sweetie? Men's bodies legislated. Try to mandate that, my love. Last I asked, we debated. Wait a sec. You have a choice. There's that word again, choice. It rhymes nicely with voice. Difference between now and then. The body commodity, the sun dims, a war wages, 100 or 1,000 years. Here we are again in the dark ages. Law or not, the act will continue. Now we punish the choice legalized. 2 pregnancies high risk could have died, we realized. Family planting, not family planning, my Lola grandmother would say. I predict maybe only two children from you one day. See the smiling photo when the bill was signed, no separate church and state. Texas won't know what hit them. Does it really come from hate? Unfurl the body politic, originate bills of care, since we are passing bills now, support root cause, if you dare. Sexual education, there's no appreciation. Still paying for birth control, not him, but her for the creation. Childcare costs more for us than in-state tuition paid. Mandatory parental leave, how much for that we've prayed. Women, infants, and children, I chose life, but I am broke. Penalty for rape, $10,000. Foster care check paid for smokes. It takes 2 to make a thing go right. But that baby, though, is out of sight. Special needs, long-term care, 18 now. We still get stares. Cared for him all his life. Sweet boy, now a man. Gotta fight now to be his mom guardian. The choice to make a choice for that, vasectomy? Should I see my husband, ask if it affected me? Until the dust settles, fates played in federal courts as each state heart beats, men building the body forts. Call me on the road to Tijuana, singing the back alley blues, with a hanger and some special herbal tea, hoping for some good news. Hand over. I guess we can kind of migrate now to more, if you would like to personally interact with us, there's going to be a formal panel after. With that being said, though, I'd like to bring the artists back on stage so we can have a final bow and thank you all for. Dancers, if you're back there, can you come back out? Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for such a wonderful evening. It was an honor to be able to share with you our heart stories through dance and spoken word. Thank you. Now we're going to go ahead and progress out, and if you've got any questions, feel free to ask us, and then we'll probably move to some of us from the formal panel as well. Thank you all again. Thank you.
Woo! Actually, I believe the Q&A is going to be happening in here, so if you want to stay, you're welcome to.
Oh, that's right.